Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation. Today, we'll explore the illusion of compatibility. We'll look at how, in the early stages of attraction, our instincts drive us to please others. You'll see how we tend to mirror preferences and hide parts of ourselves. And most importantly, we'll uncover how these behaviors can create a false sense of perfect compatibility. So, let's dive in and understand what's really happening behind the scenes in our relationships. Let's take a moment to reflect on a sobering truth from the school of life. Often, relationships don't end because of malice or bad intentions. Instead, they falter because two people have fallen in love with idealized versions of each other, images that were never truly real. And this is where things get tricky. When we love a version of someone that doesn't exist, it can lead to misunderstandings and disappointment. It's also important to recognize that this space, where idealized images are involved, is fertile ground for manipulation. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, manipulation can thrive when we're caught up in these illusions. It's a reminder that genuine connection requires us to see each other clearly, not just through the lens of our fantasies. This understanding ties back to our overall theme: building authentic, healthy relationships. Recognizing these tendencies helps us navigate away from false ideals and towards real intimacy. Understanding playing you is crucial in recognizing the dynamics at play in these situations. When a woman is playing you, it's important to remember she isn't necessarily trying to be malicious or manipulative. Sometimes, it's more about her protecting her ego or boosting her self-esteem. She might be craving attention or trying to get benefits without truly committing to anything serious. The key here is to see beyond the surface. People often put up a polished front that masks what's really going on underneath. To protect yourself, you need to develop the ability to recognize the deeper reality, the underlying motives or feelings that aren't immediately visible. This understanding helps you avoid getting caught up in illusions or false hopes. It's about being aware and perceptive so you can navigate these situations more wisely and maintain your own integrity. Remember, the goal is to see clearly and respond thoughtfully, not just react to the surface. Let's take a closer look at some key signs that might indicate you're being played. First, performative interest. This is when her interest seems inconsistent and more like mirror imaging rather than genuine engagement. You might notice she's only showing enthusiasm when it benefits her or mirrors your actions, but not truly engaging on a deeper level. Next, vague and surface-level communication. If she avoids true vulnerability and keeps conversations on the superficial side, it's often a sign she's not interested in building a real emotional connection. Then there's no reciprocity. She might enjoy the effort you put in, but she doesn't really give back in return. Genuine relationships involve mutual effort, so if that's missing, it's a red flag. Fourth, withholding clarity. If she dodges commitments or avoids discussing the future, it could mean she's not serious or isn't interested in a real partnership. And finally, that gut unease. Even if everything seems harmonious on the surface, if you feel internal discomfort or suspicion, it's important to listen to that instinct. That uneasy feeling can be your subconscious warning you something off. Understanding these signs is crucial because it helps you recognize patterns early and protect your emotional well-being. It's about being aware and staying true to what you deserve in a relationship. Let's talk about sign 1. Her interest is performative, not consistent. When you first start talking to someone, they might seem to agree with everything you say, your hobbies, your values, your worldview. For example, you mention traveling, and suddenly she says she loves traveling. Or you enjoy reading, and she adores books. At first glance, it might seem like she's just showing interest. But the key here is to pay attention to the consistency of those interests over time. If her enthusiasm fades quickly once the attention shifts away from her, that's a red flag. It suggests she might be putting on a mask rather than genuinely sharing your interests. An expert insight to keep in mind is that true compatibility develops gradually. Someone who's just playing you often invests more in their appearance of being aligned with you rather than in real substance. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear. but their actions won't always follow through. So, it's important to look beyond the surface and see if her interests are sustained over time, as that's a much better indicator of genuine connection and compatibility. Now let's talk about sign 2. She keeps things vague and surface level. Real intimacy, as we know, requires vulnerability, sharing quirks, fears, imperfections. If she insists she's very simple or easy to please, or if she avoids revealing her true complexities, that's a red flag. Because, honestly, human beings are never that simple. A refusal to open up often signals that she's more invested in maintaining an image than in building genuine trust. And here's an important insight from experts. Someone who's playing you tends to avoid deeper conversations because depth requires responsibility. If your conversations always feel shallow, no matter how long you've known her, she might be keeping you in a performance loop, not genuinely connecting. So keep this in mind. It's a key indicator of whether she's truly invested or just putting on a show. So let's discuss sign 3. She enjoys your effort but rarely reciprocates. You might find yourself planning dates, sending messages, giving compliments, and making compromises. And to be fair, she receives all of this warmly. She seems to appreciate your efforts. But the key point here is that she doesn't really give back in the same way. This creates an imbalance where it might feel like there's a relationship forming, but in reality, it's draining for you. What's really important to understand is that healthy attraction is always reciprocal. When someone is only taking and enjoying the validation, it often means they're not genuinely emotionally invested. They're simply feeding off your efforts without giving much in return. So, if you notice this pattern, it's a sign to reflect. Are you building a connection or just giving a lot without getting much back? Remember, genuine relationships require mutual effort and investment from both sides. When she withholds clarity about the future, it often shows up in her responses when you ask where things are heading. She tends to dodge those questions, enjoying the attention and companionship but never really committing to anything specific. You might hear her say things like, "Let's not label things," or "I'm just going with the flow," or "I don't want anything serious right now." These lines can seem harmless, but they often mask her true intentions. While being honest about not wanting a commitment is perfectly respectable, the problem arises when her actions suggest otherwise. If she's acting as if she's committed, spending time with you, being emotionally present, yet her words deny that, she's essentially stringing you along. Expert insight here is that ambiguity is a really powerful manipulation tool. It keeps you hooked with hope, making you think there's potential for something more, while she reaps the benefits of closeness without taking on any accountability. So, recognizing this pattern helps you understand her game. It's not just about what she says, but what her actions are really showing. And that's a key part of understanding relationship dynamics overall. So, one of the most overlooked signs is that quiet discomfort you might feel inside, even when everything seems fine on the surface. On paper, she might be laughing at your jokes, saying she's happy and playing her part perfectly. But despite all that, you might sense that something is off. And that's not paranoia. It's actually your intuition picking up on a gap between what's being said and what's really happening. Your subconscious notices inconsistencies that your conscious mind might overlook. Here's an important insight from experts. When someone is genuine, your nervous system tends to relax because you feel safe and trusting. But if someone is playing you or not being authentic, your instincts will keep detecting that dissonance. So it's crucial to trust that inner signal because it's often your best guide in recognizing when something isn't quite right, even if everything appears fine on the surface. The deeper lesson here is to dare to be complex. Often, people find themselves in miserable relationships not because they were intentionally deceived, but because both parties tend to hide their true selves in an effort to be simple and agreeable. By suppressing our complexities, we create a false sense of compatibility that's ultimately unsustainable. It takes courage to show who we really are, even if it means risking rejection. Being authentic encourages others to do the same. Asking for authenticity isn't just about demanding honesty from others. It's about creating a space where real connection can happen. And sometimes, that courage means knowing when to walk away, when the substance isn't there, when it's just an illusion. Think about it. A girl playing you is often thriving on illusion. The illusion of compatibility, of simplicity, of intimacy without responsibility. The best way to protect yourself is through radical honesty, first with yourself, and then with her. When you stop desperately trying to please, you stop being vulnerable to manipulation and games. And when you embrace your full complexity, you'll naturally attract someone who isn't trying to play you, because they're too busy being real with you. So remember, authenticity and vulnerability are your greatest defenses. Be real, be honest, and don't settle for anything less.